It is a sad and heavy thing for a minister to tell his beloved congregation that he must leave them, even to go into retirement. I have been pondering this decision for many months, and though I have perhaps gotten used to the idea, being with you this morning, seeing your faces, sharing your hugs, has prompted many internal voices in me to shout that I've made a mistake, that I didn't mean it, that it doesn't have to be like this. It pains me to tell you of my necessary plans. It will pain me to leave you. And part of us always want to avoid pain, even if the reprieve is only temporary, a half-truth told with the best of intentions. Yet even so, my head and my heart, in those I believe that I have been listening to the call of God and listening to my own life as it speaks to me, and come fall, it will be time for me to go. You, of course, may beg to differ. You may feel that this is rather sooner than you would like, and I am required to acknowledge that some of you may feel that it's already overdue. But in any event, the news, I'm sure, was surprising to you, and I expect it will take some time to sort out your feelings and decide for yourselves how you feel about my decision. We are blessed because we have time now to be honest and open with each other, and we will be wise to remember the counsel of Bob Dylan. Let us not talk falsely now. The hour is getting late. I know that you trust me as I have come to trust you. I know that you love me as I have come to love you. And when love and trust abound, time will indeed heal all wounds. Now, the conventional wisdom is that I am telling you much too early. When you called me to be your senior minister in the call agreement that we signed, we agreed that we would give each other just 60 days of warning that the relationship was coming to an end. And I've announced now nearly 10 months before I intend to retire, and some people have told me that I'm making myself a lame duck, that the days will drag, and that sooner rather than later, all of us will wish that I had done what was expected and waited until September to tell you. Perhaps. Still, there are reasons for my telling you now that I find compelling, reasons that I believe are consistent with the type of leader that I have always tried to be with you. I think that if we pay attention now to the work that needs to be done, we will conclude that following the conventional wisdom would have made my departure too abrupt and left you underprepared for the future that is yours. And make no mistake, my friends, your future matters greatly to me. When I came aboard the good ship Hancock, I was well aware of its remarkable past, knew that this congregation had done much over many years to bear faithful witness to the good news of Christ. And I accepted your call, knowing that and believing that Hancock had become something of a slumbering giant, a church that had forgotten how to be bold, how to take responsibility for all the gifts that God has blessed us with and entrusted to us. I have done my level best to help change this state of affairs, to return Hancock to the vibrant and lively and joyful community of faith and witness that God longs for you to be. And I love the church we have become. Once again, courageous and strong, outward looking, spiritually growing, filled with people of all ages and backgrounds. In the processes of conversation and discernment that we have called Hancock Next, we have been reminded that we are inspired by the teachings and life of Jesus and long to change the world through love, compassion, and courage. In these processes of conversation and discernment we have called Hancock Next, we have been led to declare that our mission is to worship God with our whole hearts, to walk our spiritual paths together, to cherish one another, to build community in a diverse world, to work for the common good, to protect the earth. These processes of conversation and discernment that we have called Hancock Next have been inspiring and engaging, and I believe faithful responses to the call of God to us. And the very last thing that I want to have happen is that these things come to a screeching halt because of a sudden and unexpected departure. And the next to the very last thing that I wanted to have happen was for you to be making plans for tomorrow, thinking that I would be here when I knew that I wouldn't be. And so for the next 10 months or so, I want to be here among you, a steady hand on the tiller, while you talk about the future that is still before you. A future that may well have you organizing yourselves differently in order to fulfill the mission we've seen. A future that may have you changing your leadership structure so that administration happens without the ministers getting bogged down so often in the details, so that they can be free to minister, to witness, to serve, and to strengthen and equip you for the call of God to you. A future in which you will have to discern together and find a new senior minister. You have work to do and decisions to make, and I didn't want you making them thinking that I was going to be a part of it. You have work to do, decisions to make, and I didn't want you to have to worry about whether ministry was still going to be happening while you were talking. My sense of what God is calling me to do now is to be here, loving you, supporting you, while you make wise decisions together. My friend Bob Victorin Vangerud, one of the wisest men I know, was the moderator of his Lutheran church in Minneapolis when their beloved minister was called away to new paths of service. And Bob was asked to speak to the congregation about the work they had done together, this odd and wonderful dance that we call ministry. He noted that ministers have only a few real tools at our disposal. There is water, specifically the waters of baptism, in which our bonds with one another are established, through which our mutual covenant of care and love and support is renewed every time we witness the sacrament happen. And there are words, streams and rivers of words, eventually, stay long enough, oceans of words. Words that are spoken for just one purpose, to make visible God's longing for the creation. And then we ministers have wine and bread, this communion feast, the table at which all are welcome, without exception, where forgiveness and hope are made tangible and real, and where the only reality that matters is the love of Christ for us and of us for Christ. And that's it, really. Every tool in the minister's toolkit. Water and words, bread and wine. These four simple things that make real the love of God in the world. So this morning, Hancock Church, I implore you to look even if your eyes are a bit misty this morning. Look up and see what God is still doing through these tools of ministry. See that your faith began not with a particular minister, but with water at baptism. Remember the words of covenant that bind us together. Remember that you belong to the body of Christ, that you are a unique and crucial part of that body. And then remember that you are just one part of that body and that others are also crucial and belong, even if maybe, especially if they look or think or feel differently than you do. Look up, Hancock Church, and see that because of your shared baptism, you belong to the body of Christ. And listen, Hancock Church, to the words being spoken even now. Hear them and know that God has given you words to describe your mission and purpose. God has given you words to speak the fullness and richness of life lived according to our core values. The words faithfulness, inclusion, compassion, gratitude, integrity, generosity, humility, vulnerability, courage. Listen to such words, hear them, but more, let them form you. Let them shape your life so that you make them incarnate in your relationships with other human beings and with this world and all its creatures. And welcome, Hancock Church. Welcome to the table of Christ, this wondrous feast where all that you need is found. Forgiveness and hope, strength and courage, rest and renewal. Come with others like you and others who are not like you. Come knowing that your witness, your feasting here is support and encouragement for others. Come to this table and take into your physical body the symbols of love and reconciliation and peace. Come and turn words into flesh, even your own flesh, for working in this world. Water and word, bread and wine. Bob has said that these are all the tools that we have, and that's true enough. But all four are powerful because they point beyond themselves. They point beyond themselves to the deepest reality of all. They are symbols that participate in the very reality to which they point, and here is the point. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. Love does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. This morning, as we gather at the table, knowing that our time together as pastor and congregation will have an ending, we do indeed come with grief in our hearts, for our love and trust and honor for one another is strong indeed. But we also come together with the firm resolve to love God with our whole heart and mind, to love each other with patience, kindness, and acceptance, and to love our world where so much suffering is happening that our hearts are breaking. What matters, what is eternal, is that we have heard the Spirit's call to love, and we have made that call our own. What matters, what is eternal, is the still more excellent path of love, that even now we walk together. Grace and peace to all of you, my beloved congregation. Thanks be to God. Amen.